The purpose of this video is to show a demonstration of the Lunar Lander project I worked on. Unfortunately, because I used Ubuntu in the school's computers, I wasn't able to use a screen capture program, so instead I had to videotape it. So I apologize in advance for the quality. So the goal of this project was to recreate the Lunar Lander game, and the closer the approximation to the real game, the better. For this project, I was provided with skeleton code that would accept keyboard inputs, as well as do some of the basic interfacing with openGL, and the vectors for the landscape you see below and the lander itself. And from there I had to implement the rest. So because this project was for our graphics class, a lot of the implementation had to do with working with openGL. So when the game is regularly running, what's happening is that landscape vector is being transformed from its object coordinate system to the screen. So what that means is it's being displaced to the bottom of the screen and then scaled so that it fits perfectly. And then there isn't really much rotation operation because it's already level. Now to add the lander into the screen that already has the landscape, what's being done is a position is always being tracked throughout each update of the screen using the button presses and the current vectors, and that's changing where the lander is located, and that's used to put the lander's object onto the coordinate system, and its rotation operation is being used to adjust how much it's being rotated with the left and right arrow keys. So there's actually a third transform going on as well, and that's the boost exhaust that is behind the ship, which I chose to implement. So what's happening with that is normally it's just 3 points, as you can see, when no boost is being used, but then within its transform there's a dependency on a variable which is updated as the button is pressed, and what that does is it moves that middle point further away so that it makes the appearance of a boost vector. And the last real complicated element here is a perpendicular projection is being used on the landscape vector from the lunar lander to determine which point is the closest to the ship and then how close that is. And if that's close enough, then it does that zoomed in perspective where now the screen is actually centered on the lander. So whereas before the landscape was being put at the bottom of the screen and the screen was scaled, now it's a smaller scaling, and instead of displacing everything to the bottom of the screen like that, it's now centering everything on the lander and scaling it. And the last elements are just the numbers displayed at the top of the screen, which are all pretty simple to implement. The only real difficult one was the altitude, which is just the vertical distance between the ship and the landscape it's over. So that's my Lunar Lander implementation. Thank you for watching.